All right, guys, welcome back. My Algebra 2 class. This is going to be Quadratics Part 2. We are going to talk today. So in our last video, we talked about quadratic equations in vertex form. I did not get into standard form, so I'm going to do that today. We did talk about in the last one how important finding the vertex is, because once you know the vertex, then you can do your XY chart, right? Well, it's really easy when it's in vertex form and it looks something like y equals 2x plus 4 squared minus 1. This is a lot easier because we know opposite this, regular this gives me -4, -1 as our vertex. Bam, done, I've got my vertex, right? Now, when we get to standard form, unfortunately, it's a little bit more work. So for standard form, and just as a refresher, standard form looks like this. It's ax squared plus bx plus c, okay? So let me give you an example for one that would be in standard form. X squared minus 6x plus 12. So finding the vertex in standard form. Finding the vertex in standard form. The first step that you need to do is you're going to do -b over 2a equals x, okay? -b over 2a. So taking a look at this example that I have here, -b is, and when a negative sign is in front of a variable, I actually say opposite b instead of -b, right? So opposite of b, because b right here is -6. So we're gonna do +6 over 2 times, and then our a here is a 1, right? If there's no coefficient in front of a variable, it's 1. So 2 times 1 equals x. When we simplify that, we get 6 over 2, which equals 3. So x equals 3. So that's our very first step, is that we do this. Our second step is plug in x to equation. Plug in whatever you get to your x, because typically our equations, when they're written like this, it's y equals. It's y equals. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite this equation, but what we got for x, we're going to plug in. So I get 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 12. Looking for my calculator because I would hate to make a stupid error on this because I'm working and then be like, oh my god, I totally made this half-hour video and I don't know what I did wrong. Okay, so we know that 3 squared is 9 minus 18 plus 12. Add the opposite. 9 and this is going to be 21 plus -18 gives me 3, right? So y equals 3. X equals 3, y equals 3, bam, you have your vertex. So that's the second step, right? Our third step is to take that information and start our XY chart. So number 3, right? You're going to start your XY chart. Okay? That means we're gonna have X, Y, and the first thing that you put in your XY chart is your vertex, right? 3, 3. Now coming back over to our graph, swap these guys out. So if we have our graph here, our vertex is 3, 3. That's this right here. That means that our axis of symmetry is x equals 3. X equals 3, just like that, okay? What happens on one side is going to be flipped over to happen on the other side. So since I've already picked 3, now I'm going to pick 2 and 1 and see what happens, okay? So I've got this guy up here, and I'm going to plug in y equals, so I'm going to put them into my XY chart, 2 and 1. Y equals 2 squared minus 6 times 2 plus 12. Okay, just plugging that guy right back in. 4 minus 12 plus 12, well, those cancel out, I get 4. Bam, that was an easy one. All right, so then for the next guy, we have y equals 1. So 1 squared minus 6 times 1 plus 12. Okay, so I get 1 minus 6 plus 12. -6 plus 12 is +6, so I get 1 plus 6, which gives me 7, okay? So that's gonna be 7. So I've got 3, 3, 2, 4, and 1, 7. So I go over 2, up 4, And then I go over 1 up 7. Again, if we look at this, our a here was a 1. So this is just our parent graph moved over. Because again, we have that pattern, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3. So, but if you need to do an XY chart, absolutely, because that will definitely help. So there we go. Ta-da! We have our graph, okay? So knowing that now, what I'd like you to do is practice finding the your AOS, I'm sorry, not your AOS, your vertex for a couple of these guys. So find the vertex for y equals -1/2 x squared minus 2x minus 5. Okay, nope, it would help if you could see it, I don't know. And then I would like to find the vertex for y equals -2x squared minus 8x minus 9. Okay, so pause the video and see if you can find the vertex for those guys. All right, so come on back. We have y for the first one. I had to move whiteboard so I don't accidentally write the wrong or write something incorrect down. All right, so over 5, right? To find the vertex, our first step is x equals -b over 2a, or opposite b, right? So x equals, and our b is -2, so we're going to do the opposite of that and get +2, times 2 times, and our a is -1/2, okay? That means 2 over, and half of 2 is 1, so it's going to be -1. So x equals -2, okay? So I always say fractions are side work. So if you take that off to the side, it would be 2, just if you need a refresh on fractions, 2 over 1 times 1 over 2. These would cancel out to be 1 and 1, so you end up with 1, right? But a negative times a positive is a negative. So let me know if you have any questions on that. We need to go back and try some more. So x equals -2. Now the second step is to take that -2 and plug it back in up over here. So y equals -1/2. And guys, do not skimp on this part and try and do it in your head. Write it down every time. You'll have a much easier chance of getting it all correct, okay? So squared minus 2 times -2 minus 5. Okay, so this guy right here is going to be 4. So I have -1/2 times 4. And then -2 times -2 is +4, right? Minus 5. Again, side work here, -1/2 times 4 over 1. This is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, so I end up with -2 plus 4 plus a -5. All I did was add the opposite there. So 5, 6, 7, so -7 plus 4 gives me -3. Bam! So we have, so y equals -3. So we have our x here, -2, and we have our y, -3. Hopefully you got the same thing. Okay, so the next one is y equals -2x squared minus 8x minus 9. All right, so for this guy right here, we're going to do x equals -b over 2a. X equals opposite of that -8, so +8 over 2 times -2. So x equals which is 8 over -4, which gives us -2. All right, let's plug that bad boy in. -2, -2 squared minus 8 times -2 minus 9. All right, -2 squared is going to be 4, so so -2 times 4. Negative times a negative is a positive. 8 times 2 is 16 minus 9. This is going to be -8 plus 16 minus 9. This right here gives us +8 minus 9 gives me -1. So y equals -1. So your vertex on this guy, -2, -1, -2, -1. All right, so what we'll do in class is practice finding the vertex on a bunch of these so that you can feel real good about graphing those. And then we'll talk about factoring and how those all work out next, okay? Thanks, guys.